Welcome to another episode of Tiny Talks Big Ideas podcast. Have you ever felt that intense internal cringe? That instant regret the moment you hear yourself mumble yes when, like, every fiber of your being was screaming no?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is so common.
Yeah, it's like you've just signed away a piece of your precious time, your energy, and you're left feeling completely depleted, wondering, why do my own needs always seem to come
It's
last?
a really draining cycle to be stuck in.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the art of saying no. It's such a tiny word, isn't it? Just two letters.
Tiny word, massive impact.
Exactly. Its impact on your relationships, your well-being, your overall happiness is absolutely massive. And what incredible, almost surprising benefits come from actually mastering this seemingly simple skill.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to distill the most practical strategies and honestly, some surprising insights to help you reclaim your time
Yeah.
and focus on what genuinely matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
What's particularly fascinating here is how often people think saying no is selfish. But if we really dig into the core of it,
Yeah.
it's actually about creating space for a more authentic, a more joyful life where you're not constantly, sacrificing your own vitality.
Okay, so let's get right into that. This pervasive people-pleasing habit that so many of us fall into, it feels almost ingrained, doesn't it?
Definitely. Like it's learned behavior.
As if we're conditioned, maybe from childhood, to constantly prioritize others' needs, making yes our automatic kind of default setting.
The path of least resistance sometimes.
We just want to be helpful, right?
Mhm.
Agreeable, liked. But what's the actual cost? What's the cost of that constant internal conflict?
That's a crucial question because the costs are, well, they're profound, both emotionally and physically. Emotionally, you're looking at a whole cascade of overwhelming feelings, intense anger, deep sadness, constant worry.
Wow.
And this builds up. It leads to resentment, which then feeds into true emotional exhaustion. People reporting this, like pervasive unhappiness,
Yeah.
or even an identity crisis, asking, who am I if I'm always saying yes to everyone
Oh,
else?
right.
And that can easily spiral into self-loathing.
That's heavy.
It is. And the ripple effect extends to your physical health. That mind-body connection is absolutely undeniable.
Right.
High stress, constant worry, unexpressed anger, which is often what happens when you say yes but mean no. These things release stress hormones like cortisol.
Okay.
They increase your heart rate, mess up your blood sugar balance, and over time, this chronic activation of your stress response can directly contribute to physical illness and disease.
So it's serious.
This cycle is truly not good
Oh.
for anyone.
I think most of us can relate to that feeling, at least on some level. But then why is it so incredibly difficult to actually say that word no? It feels like, I don't know, diffusing a bomb sometimes.
Right. The anticipation can be worse than the act itself.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the obvious fears. The fear of rejection, right? Of being seen as selfish or unhelpful. Then there's the fear of disappointing people. Nobody likes causing unmet expectations. And of course, the classic FOMO fear of missing out.
Ah, yes, FOMO.
That anxious feeling that saying no might mean you'll miss some big opportunity. What else is going on there? What's the deeper psychological root?
Well, you've hit on some really crucial surface-level fears there. But if we dig a bit deeper, what's truly fascinating is how all these fears, rejection, disappointment, FOMO, they ultimately kind of boil down to a fundamental human wiring,
Okay.
our deep-seated need for belonging and social approval. Saying no can feel like it threatens that very core need, like we're risking our place in the tribe, so to speak.
That makes sense.
There's also often a lack of confidence, maybe feeling you don't have the right to set boundaries, especially at work or in, hierarchical situations.
Right. Power dynamics.
Exactly. And then there's just a deep aversion to conflict. Prioritizing others' feelings over your own, simply to avoid any kind of confrontation.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't forget about succumbing to, well, emotional bullying sometimes. Manipulation tactics that trigger guilt and fear, making it feel almost impossible to decline.
So it's not just about lacking willpower. It's almost like a biological imperative to stay connected. That's powerful and almost uncomfortable, isn't it? Because it suggests we're partly responsible for these patterns.
Exactly. And this is where a very insightful idea comes in. In non-abusive relationships, we really do train people to treat us how they treat us.
Ooh, say more about that.
By consistently saying yes, even when you really rather not, you're inadvertently reinforcing others' expectations that you will say yes.
You're setting a precedent.
Precisely. You're hindering your own well-being and making it harder for people to respect your boundaries because they're simply responding to the pattern you've set. It's a feedback loop you've unintentionally created.
Okay, wow. All right, so we've identified the problem, the deep-seated reasons why it's so hard. Now let's talk about that exact moment you actually think about saying no.
The moment of truth.
Yeah. For many of us, that's when the internal freakout begins. It can be downright terrifying. And here's where it gets really interesting, because your first action should be to mentally scan your body.
Awareness first.
Yes. Notice what you feel physically. Is there tension, maybe in your stomach, your chest, neck, jaw, even your ears? Is your heart rate suddenly going up?
Physical signs?
Does your face feel flushed? Is it difficult to breathe? Are you getting sweaty, maybe nauseous or dizzy? This awareness, just recognizing these physical sensations, that's the crucial first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because once you recognize that fear response in your body, that full-on sympathetic nervous system activation, then you can learn how to manage that internal freakout.
Okay.
So you can approach the situation from a place of calm, not panic. And the most impactful science-backed strategy for this is the extended exhale breathing exercise, sometimes called 3-6 breathing.
Okay, extended exhale, how does that work?
First, let's make sure the deep breathing is right. Your stomach should rise as you inhale like a baby breathes, not your chest puffing out.
Right, belly breathing.
Exactly. And always remember to fully exhale before you take that first deep breath. This prevents gasping and clears out stale air.
Got it. Exhale first.
Now, for the 3-6 count, inhale deeply through your nose for, say, 3 counts. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 counts.
Longer exhale.
Yes, the science here is incredibly powerful. You physiologically relax on the exhale. So making it longer than your inhale specifically triggers your relaxation response. That's your parasympathetic nervous system.
Ah, okay.
This immediately starts to calm down your stress response, the sympathetic nervous system. If you find yourself getting dizzy initially, just reduce the exhale to 5 or even 4 counts. You'll build up to it.
Makes sense.
You can also enhance this by what we call sipping. Imagine you have a straw in your mouth and you're exhaling slowly through it.
Like pursed lips breathing.
Similar idea, yeah. It gives you more control, makes the exhale longer and smoother. And this whole practice, it moves your brain from its emotional, reactive part, the amygdala, to the logical, rational, problem-solving part, your prefrontal cortex.
So it shifts your brain state.
Exactly. It helps you stop reacting, start responding in a positive, healthy way. And a top tip, practice this when you're already relaxed.
Oh, interesting. Why then?
It trains your body to recognize it as a time to relax trigger. So when you're actually stressed and need it most, it's much easier to activate that calm state.
That's brilliant. Okay, so you've recognized the fear, you've calmed your body with the breathing, you're in a more rational headspace. Now, how do we actually say no without, burning bridges?
Right, the execution.
Our sources suggest starting small. Low-stakes situations, less fear-provoking, and maybe with safe people.
Good starting point.
Think about your sister, your spouse, a close coworker, someone where there's a good established relationship. Maybe it's declining an extra helping of dinner or a coffee you don't really want.
Or that plant they're trying to give away that you know you'll kill.
Exactly, something small. Now, if you're someone who has said yes your whole life, people might react with a bit of shock at first.
They might push back a little.
Yeah, they might even try to ignore your no and push their offer on you again. But you can breathe, stay calm, and politely respond with something like, "Thank you, I have thought about it, and I'm okay without it."
Clear and simple.
The key here is consistency. People will adjust over time. Now, if they consistently don't, despite your clear and polite communication,
Then that tells you something else.
right, that might be a sign you need to evaluate the deeper dynamics of that relationship.
Okay, so once you're comfortable with those smaller no's, you've built that muscle a bit. Now it's time to pull out the big guns for those larger requests, the ones that really ask for your time and energy.
The big guns. Okay, I'm listening.
This is where the EDC model of communication comes in. It stands for empathize, describe, clarify.
EDC. Okay.
First, empathize. Show understanding of their perspective, even if you don't agree with it. Say something like, "I understand this is important to you," or "I can see you're feeling stressed."
So acknowledge their feeling first.
Exactly. It helps them feel heard, makes them more receptive, instead of just planning their next argument. Second, describe. Objectively explain the situation from your experience and how it impacts you. Use I statements.
Okay.
Finally, clarify. State your needs clearly, or explain how you'd like the situation to progress. What's the boundary? What's the alternative, if any?
Can you give us a really clear example? How does EDC play out in, like, a common scenario?
Absolutely. Let's imagine your friend or maybe your sibling asks for last-minute help on a project, something that would totally derail your evening plans.
Okay. Happens all the time.
Instead of just a blunt no, you could use EDC. Empathize. I understand that this work is important to you and you're feeling stressed about getting it completed on time.
Got it.
Describe. I'm concerned that I won't have enough time to help you and also get my own errands done in time to get home for our family dinner. See, it's about your constraints.
Right. Factual impact on you.
Clarify. If you want help in the future, please let me know in advance so I can plan for it and genuinely help you out.
So it shows support, sets a boundary, and offers a path forward.
Precisely. Without you sacrificing your own plans. And a really powerful technique here is to delay your response. Don't give that knee-jerk yes or immediate no you might regret.
Buy yourself some time.
Exactly. Say something like, I have to check my schedule before I can give you an answer. Or, let me think about that and get back to you. This gives you vital time to breathe, maybe formulate your EDC statement, and prepare a calm, confident response.
That's such a smart tactical move. Delaying.
Ah.
But what happens when you've used your EDC, you've been clear, polite, and they just won't listen? They keep pushing, maybe even begging.
Yeah, that happens.
Especially if you have that history of giving in. How do you strengthen your no muscle when faced with that persistent pressure?
This is where unwavering resolve comes in. Seriously. You pause, you take that calming breath we talked about,
Okay.
and then you repeat your EDC statement. Maybe slightly rephrased, but the core message stays the same. Yeah. Do not waver.
Don't get drawn into arguing or justifying again.
Exactly. You can even offer a genuine empathetic smile because you understand they probably do feel their crisis is urgent. But your job is to hold your boundary firmly but kindly.
And if they still press?
If they still press, a stronger yet still loving response, especially for close relationships. Maybe something like, look, sister, I can really appreciate that you are stressed and want some help. However, I have explained my situation to you, and I would really like it if you would respect my choice now. I love you and want you to be happy, but I simply cannot put my needs aside for yours in this situation.
Wow. That's direct but still caring.
The key message here, and this is crucial, you do not need to explain yourself beyond your initial clear statement. You are clear, polite, respectful. That's enough.
You don't owe them endless explanations.
No. You are the only one who will consistently protect your well-being. That's your responsibility.
That makes so much sense. It really reframes it as self-preservation, not selfishness. Okay, so beyond the EDC model, what are some other, maybe more general, practical tips for mastering this gentle art of saying no?
Yeah, definitely good to have more tools in the toolbox. First, try to be direct and straightforward. Don't stall for time or beat around the bush. That just invites more pressure or negotiation.
Get to the point politely.
Exactly. And resist the urge to offer lengthy excuses. It's not about being rude. It's about honoring your own time and energy. Long excuses often just invite people to poke holes in them, and it drains your mental resources.
Okay. Honest but concise.
Honest but concise. Also, take ownership of your decision. It's your choice, and you have every right to make it. Don't apologize for having boundaries.
Right.
Now, if it's genuinely possible and you feel comfortable, you can offer an alternative. I can't take on that full project now, but I could review the proposal next week. Or I could contribute in this smaller way, like X.
So it's not always a hard no. Sometimes it's a no, but...
If that feels authentic to you, yes. You can also suggest someone else who might be better qualified or have the capacity right now.
Useful. What about specific phrases?
Yeah, having some go-to phrases helps. Things like, thanks so much for thinking of me, but I can't take that on right now. Or simply, that's not something I can commit to at this time. Or, I've realized I need to step back from extra tasks this month to focus on my core priorities.
Okay, those sound good. Clear, polite, firm.
And for really persistent requests, like maybe from salespeople, the broken record technique can work. Just politely repeat your no or your boundary. I'm not interested, my answer is no.
Yeah.
Without engaging further.
Don't get drawn in.
Right. And finally, always try to reframe your no internally as an affirmation of your own needs and limits. Practice self-compassion. Remember the priorities and the important yes to yourself, your family, your goals that your no is protecting.
That reframing is key, isn't it? Seeing no as a yes to something else. Okay, so we know no isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It needs to adapt based on the relationship, the context.
Absolutely. It's a social art, like you said. Applying no effectively means tailoring your approach.
So how does that look in different
Now,
relationships?
let's take extended families. Sometimes there can be unintentional emotional manipulation. Here, you might need very specific rules and boundaries, like maybe deciding you'll let calls go to voicemail sometimes so you can respond when you're ready, not just react immediately.
Okay, creating space.
With your spouse or partner, saying no is actually essential for relationship health. Having well-defined boundaries fosters mutual respect and understanding. It prevents resentment from building.
Makes sense. What about kids? That's a tough one.
Oh, yeah. With children, it's about setting clear, consistent boundaries and really resisting those negotiation tactics they're so good at.
Yes, they are.
Using I don't statements can be powerful here. I don't allow screen time before homework is done. It frames it as your established rule, not something up for debate right now.
I don't. Okay, how about at work? Coworkers or your boss?
Transparency is key there. Clearly communicate your current workload and lack of availability. If a new project comes up, ask priority questions. Okay, where does this fit with my existing tasks? What should I deprioritize?
Put the onus back on them to clarify.
Right. And offer alternative solutions if you can, like suggesting a later deadline or a different approach. With clients, provide legitimate professional reasons for declining without damaging the relationship. Suggest alternatives or referrals if appropriate.
Okay, and strangers.
For strangers, it's really about reflecting on your values and creating personal rules. Almost non-negotiable ones, like the example, I have a rule that I don't give rides to people I don't know. It takes the personal element out of it.
It's just a rule you follow.
Exactly. And this raises a really important point, maybe the most overlooked one.
Yeah.
What about saying no to yourself?
Yes, you mentioned that earlier.
This is actually vital for long-term fulfillment. Resisting temptations or distractions that pull you away from your goals. Just like with kids, use those I don't statements for yourself.
Like what?
I don't eat junk food right before bed, or I don't skip my workouts on Tuesdays. It empowers you to prioritize what truly matters for your long-term growth and well-being over momentary urges.
That's a huge shift in perspective, isn't it? Saying no to ourselves can feel even harder sometimes. So what does all this mean? What's the big picture payoff here?
Well, it comes back to what you said earlier.
Ultimately, saying no is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can engage in. Every single time you say no to something that doesn't align with your priorities, your values, your energy levels, you are, in fact, saying a resounding yes to your own well-being, your passions, your peace of mind. It truly is your superpower.
The profound payoff is immense. It's transformative. You'll experience increased energy, a greater sense of freedom, more joy, deeper happiness.
Who wouldn't want that?
Right. And this allows you to give to others, not from a place of resentment or obligation, but from a place of genuine compassion and abundance. Because you're not depleted.
You're giving from a full cup.
Exactly. You'll have improved quality time and presence in your relationships because you're genuinely there, fully present, not silently fuming. It builds trust and respect from others, too, because they learn to recognize and honor your boundaries.
That's a great point about respect.
And critically, it empowers you to pursue productive and rewarding endeavors that truly serve your goals, not just everyone else's. But remember, it's a journey, right? Not a destination. Practice makes it more natural and more empowering over time.
It's a skill to develop. And here's a beautiful thought to maybe carry with you from this. You absolutely deserve happiness and peace. Learning to say no isn't about closing doors at all. It's about strategically opening the right doors. The doors to a life that feels more authentic, more manageable, and just profoundly more joyful. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, take a moment to reflect on what resonated most with you. We often get questions about specific challenges with saying no, so let's maybe tackle a few common ones that came up often.
Good. Okay, first question that comes up a lot. What are the real consequences of being a chronic people pleaser?
Yeah, that's a vital point to understand. It's definitely far more than just a minor inconvenience, intense emotional fallout. Everything from persistent stress, deep unhappiness, and sheer exhaustion.
Right, the burnout.
To real feelings of resentment and bitterness that can poison relationships. When you consistently put others' needs way ahead of your own, you'll inevitably experience a significant decline in your personal well-being, mentally and physically.
Okay, next question. How exactly can saying no improve self-esteem?
That's a great one. Saying no significantly improves self-esteem because it powerfully affirms that your time, your goals, your needs are just as important and valid as anyone else's.
It's an act of self-validation.
Totally. Each time you confidently say no to something that doesn't serve you, you reinforce the fundamental idea that you are worthy of prioritizing your own well-being. And that directly leads to greater self-worth and confidence over time.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And finally, this is a big one. What should you remember when someone takes offense at your no? Because that fear stops a lot of people. Okay, this is crucial. It's essential to recognize and really internalize that their offense, their negative reaction, likely stems from their own insecurities, their own unmet expectations, or perhaps their own habitual patterns of you always saying yes.
So it's about them, not you.
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
It's not usually a direct result of your actions. Assuming you communicated your boundary clearly and respectfully, you are not responsible for managing their feelings or their reaction. Their reaction is about them.
That's incredibly freeing, actually. Okay. So, to leave you with something truly provocative to ponder on your own, consider one small yes you habitually give, maybe this week, just one. What if you transformed that yes into a no? What yes to yourself, to your own well-being, to your true priorities, to something you really want to do, what yes would that create space for?
That's a powerful reflection.
So to recap our deep dive today, saying no isn't about closing doors. It's really about opening the right ones, the ones leading to a more authentic, joyful, and manageable life. This tiny word no truly holds immense power for your personal growth and for building healthier, more respectful relationships.
It really does.
We encourage you to reflect on the insights we shared and think about how you can start applying them, even in small ways, in your own life. Until next time we meet in another episode of Tiny Talks Big Ideas podcast, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay curious.